It's understanding that He is our Elohim, that He's the one that brought us out of Mitzrayim. That is commandment 1. And so He says it right here. He goes, look, He said, when I took them, when I chose and made an oath to the seed of the house of Yaakov and made myself known to them in the land of Mitzrayim, in Egypt, I lifted my hand in oath, saying to them, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You must renounce all authorities that are over you other than Him. You have to give up your self-sovereignty. You have to no longer be under Hasatan's influence, no longer under the world's influence, but completely under His influence. That's the key. If a man does them, he shall live by them. I showed them my laws and my right rulings. Yet we still struggle, even though we came out of the churches and we no longer are doing those things where they said those stuff was done away with, we still struggle to fully embrace our part in doing them and living by them. This is how the universe works. I made you, this is how you're supposed to function, instead of walking around being so dysfunctional. But if you do these things, you will function ideally in the universe I created to function a certain way. But if you do them, you'll feel this life come into you. Because Yeshua is life. But Yeshua is also the walking, talking, living Torah. And the more you embrace the Torah, the more you're really embracing Yeshua. Because He is the fullness of what Torah is. It is the transformative element, I believe it really is, the transformative element that if you live it, it changes you from being you into being more like Him. It transforms you into Him. Why don't we just all stand, not right now, but why don't we just stand to say, let it be us that makes that difference. Let us be the ones that are going to finally heed this message and put an end to this craziness. And that's really what it is. Rebelling against the Creator of all things is crazy. It's foolishness in the extreme, yet we do it all the time. I have judged them according to their ways and their deeds. That's a consistent theme all the way through Scripture. You will be judged according to your works, according to what you did. You will be judged. We read that in chapter 18, right? Didn't matter what your father did. You're going to be judged according to what you do. By the way, you have that in Romans chapter 2. It says that everyone will be judged according to their works, some to everlasting life and some to condemnation and wrath. But, Yahweh's not mocked. You are going to be judged according to what you do. You're going to reap what you sow. There is a verse in the Brit where Yeshua talks about none can take out of his hand. That's true, by the way. I wouldn't never argue with the Scripture. But that doesn't mean you can't climb out yourself. He's talking about nobody snatching away. None can come and snatch you out of his hand. Because while you're there, you're safe. He says, but look, he says, my people have gone out of my hand. That's a whole different thing. He says, look, these are the people of Yahweh, and yet they have gone out of his hand, out of his land and out of his hand. They've gone out. You can go out. The protection is when you stay in. O house of Israel, but for my set-apart name's sake, which you have profaned among the Gentiles wherever you went. You know how they profaned it? They still claimed to be his while doing all of the silly mess that they were doing. That's profaning to his name. So they're going to see the transformation in you. They're going to witness that. So as you change, don't be embarrassed. Don't feel all like this is about what he prophesied. You're supposed to now stand out amongst your friends and family and the Gentiles around us so that they can see his name set apart in you. If he is just doing this all by fiat in verse 26, leading into the first part of verse 27, why would he need to cause you to do anything? In other words, if all he's doing is changing your heart out and giving you a new heart that it just wants to do everything Yahweh said, then there would be no need for him to cause you to do anything. It's the causing that does the change. Let's reverse this. He said, let's take this around the other way. He says, I will cause you to walk in my ways and guard my rulings and do them, which will change your heart of stone into flesh and will change your spirit that's in you. Let's switch the order. It makes actually more sense. Because there's no reason to cause you to do anything if it's already done and changed magically. The Ruach then helps to bring to remembrance. The Ruach is that small voice by which it's the technology, let's call it, that allows him to dwell in you. It's the technology, so to speak, that is him speaking to you, not the Spirit speaking to you, but Yeshua speaks to you. The Father speaks to you through this thing called the means by which, called the Ruach. It's an enabler of what they do. It makes it possible to do. Here's the best part. The people that come up to me and say, well, I just want to let you know I'm a Gentile believer. It's impossible. Okay, it's impossible. You can't be a Gentile believer. By the way, I'm dry water. Really? What? I know we can have dry ice, that's different, but there can't be dry water, okay? I have a box of dry water here, just add water. Instant water, just add water. You cannot be a Gentile and be a believer. If you believe what Yahweh said, then you become an Israelite, because you make the choices and decisions that have you become Israel. You cannot be a Gentile anymore. No son of a foreigner, no son of a stranger, who's even among the children, even who's dwelling among the children, which I think then says that, hey, amongst Israel, that's wheat and tares time. Maybe he's talking a little wheat and tares time here. They look like they're among the children, but they're not of us. They may look like us and be, walking out some of these things and appear like us, but remember, he said they got to be circumcised of heart too. He says no uncircumcised of heart can come in. They may outwardly appear, but not necessarily true. He said, that my people would have such a heart in them as to just do what I say, to trust me. Oh, that they would have such a heart in them to do what I tell them to do, and then they would live. And so, as the teacher in front of you now, I'm going to say the same thing that any of the other teachers throughout the scripture said. Please listen to him. Change over your heart. Lay up his Torah in your heart. So all of this stuff is going on, has got to be, we need a total reset in our approach. And this is where we have to work that heart thing out. And allow him. He is trying to be the master potter. He's trying to cause that new heart to be in you, to cause you to walk in his ways, to cause that new spirit to birth in you. You can learn Torah all you want. If you don't fix this, none of it's going to matter, because you're not going to do it right. Some of it you won't do at all. And some of the stuff you do it with a lousy attitude or with the wrong approach. And it's not going to avail you anything. That's really why Yahweh talks about the heart so much in this book, is that if we don't get the heart right, the rest of it doesn't matter anyway.